Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So today's upload we'll be talking about the potential storm system that will be occurring late this week into this upcoming weekend. So we are still pretty far away. It's definitely in the medium to short range, but the models are differing quite a lot, and it's just really uncertain whether or not this will be a very large system, a weaker storm, a snowier storm, or more rainy storm. We'll have to see. We'll be talking about all of that, going over the several different models, kind of just the pattern in general, showing you the activity that will be going on. I will be also briefly going over what my opinions are on this upcoming winter in like a minute or two interval, because people have been asking what are my final predictions, and I don't really feel like making a final winter outlook. So let's get into this video. Before we do, if you guys like this video, check out my other videos, and if you like those as well, consider subscribing. And if you are a returning viewer, liking the video would be awesome. Otherwise, let's get into this video. So first off, as I said, I do want to go over my final winter thoughts, if you will. It is a bit late, but better late than never. So over the past month, really, things have started to come in shape, and I think that I am probably more confident in my winter forecast right now than I have been last year or even in years prior. What I think the trend will be throughout this winter, there will be a lack of cold air. I don't think there will be really any substantial cold air. People now may be grunting all over, but I do think that it will be a snowy winter. Now that may seem counterintuitive, without cold, how will there be snow? I think there will be a very active precipitation trend. I think there will be a lot of precip, and we've been already seeing that across the Northwest. I think that will continue there and start and commence across much of the rest of the United States. So with wet weather, there is, a chance that one or two of those storms will become a snowstorm, even if there's a lack of cold air, and that's what I think will be the pattern. Lots of rain, lots of snow though, and there will be, there could be a brief cold outbreak, but as a whole, the winter won't be that cold. Similar years I would compare this to is 2007, 2008, where there was tons and tons of snow, lots of precipitation across the United States. There was extremes of temperatures. I think the trend this winter will be, usually with La Niñas, there has been some sort of extreme. 2007, 2008 were just the temperature swings. 2011 was a Groundhog Day blizzard. 2017, 2018 was an insanely cold outbreak around New Year's. 1999 was the blizzard that occurred across the Midwest that jumped up to 20 inches here across Chicago. I think those occurrences will be possible. Either of those, either very warm, very cold briefly, but there will be extremes. Lack of cold air, I think, seems to be the trend this year, and also just quite good amounts of precip and snow. All right, that is my forecast for the United States. I think that will be a trend most will be seeing. Let's begin talking about this. Notice right now, not many early warnings or watches issued. The Northwest has a few warnings. They have a bit of some, I think, freezing. I don't know what that purple exactly is. I would have to read off the thing. Okay, so I have the storm warning. There will be a lot of snow, and let me just show you some of the snow amounts that the European, or really all the models are showing, to be honest. If you look at total snowfall, very heavy snow, and honestly the GFS parallel is one of the models that's showing the lesser amounts of snow. If you were to take a look at the GFS and go to the 384-hour outlook, lots of locations quite literally seeing snow off the charts. I mean, and that's not a exaggeration. You can see that that's the white, and the highest color this goes to is the white. A good 50% of Idaho is off the charts in terms of snowfall. And, again, it's not going to be terribly cold across those locations. If you were to look at the 8 to 14 outlook or the 6 to 10 day outlook, which this snow will fall in, it's looking warm across those locations. It's just the amount of precip that will be occurring. Notice, there isn't a whole lot across the central United States, right? But again, it's a bit warmer, so it will take a certain, storm track to produce the snow. And according to this model, it's not seeing that. But notice, to the north, very heavy amounts of snow, and it's not looking cold across these locations, but the snow is still falling. So let's begin looking at this. Hour by hour, radar range / frozen. Let's take a look at the MSLP and precip. I want to expand this a bit because the window was a bit smaller. I can make this bigger. All right, so notice, this is the GFS model, right? It is a pretty good model. We use it a lot of times. Meteorologists do as well. And this is initiated at the 18Z, so today at around 6 p.m. That's kind of when it was initiated. We're recording this at 5, or Sorry, this was initiated. Yeah, okay. So notice that as we push this forward, we have a storm system that dropped a bit of snow. Again, 1 to 2 inches I predicted, and that has seemed to be the case. Lesser amounts across Virginia, more across Kentucky and West Virginia. But again, nothing significant, but there was a bit of snow. That pushes off, we see very, very warm weather come through. Now, the stretch of warm weather we have coming up into 9th, 10th, 11th, I think will be relatively short-lived, though it's going to be intense. You could see that the 32-degree line is pushed way further into portions of Wisconsin, Marquette, the UP, and if you were to take a look at the daytime temperatures, they are pretty remarkable. Again, they won't be 70s as this is December, but really seeing 50s as far north as even Chicago during December is considered a pretty unusual and unseasonable, rather very unseasonable weather. And notice even portions of International Falls, northern Minnesota, as far north as it gets, will be above freezing, which is just to show you how warm it's been. And notice very warm across the south for December standards again. Let's take a look again back at the MSLP and precip. We start looking at a low pressure forming across the southwest. This thing really uses a lot of moisture that comes in off the Pacific Ocean. And really the biggest change for the past couple of days was that the storm that I talked about yesterday has kind of had a trend of weakening. The models have slightly adjusted themselves and made the storm a bit weaker. Again, this thing is still very far from occurring, relatively speaking. The high resolution models haven't picked up on it. So, and the spread between models is rather large. So I'll show you. Notice the GFS doesn't really construct the northern piece of the system. It does include the cold air further to the south, which basically may think that's a good thing. But what it does is, with the flow that's getting pushed off, this low pressure speeds away instead of rising to the north and kind of stalled out. If you remember yesterday, it stalled out across Minnesota, Iowa, and dropped quite a bit of snow across the Dakotas. That's what it's forecasted. That's what it was forecasted to do. Now, notice, it speeds across. This is, by the way, Friday at around December 11th, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. Notice, the snow is still there. Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, still seeing snow and into portions of the west. But really, it's not that impressive. Notice that as we push this into Canada, it gets a bit more widespread, and some heavy snow does occur as we start getting precipitation from the Atlantic Ocean working in. But again, it is really nothing comparable to what we saw yesterday. Now, this is just one GFS model, and you can see that there still will be heavy snow, just no blizzard. The winds with this system aren't really that packed at all. Definitely not any blizzard conditions. And if you were to take a look at the total snowfall just from that system, yes, there will be locations seeing above a foot of snow across Canada. It's whether or not this shifts further towards, the U.S. side, as here most people it's very unpopulated. Here, as you quickly drop, it gets significantly much more populated, and then in the U.S. it's even more populated. Here, though, you can see Sault Ste. Marie 6 inches, the UP 6-7 inches, the west northwest getting a lot of snow. Now again, this was just one model run of the GFS. If you were to take a look at it 6 hours ago, it showed more snow, right? So definitely a bit more snow across Iowa. The one across 6Z, so the one in the morning of today, showed even more snow. The one yesterday at midnight showed even more snow. So you can see what the trend has been with this system. Instead of riding further to the north and dropping a very heavy band of snow, it's slanted. It did more of a horizontal plane, and it just dropped lighter amounts across a larger area. Will that happen? We'll have to see. Unfortunately, that's all I can say at this point. Let's switch models and take a look at the GFS Parallel. Now again, I do want to warn that the GFS Parallel is one of the older model runs, or the GFS Parallel doesn't update that often. So this model run is from 18 hours ago, which is a bit older than I'd prefer, but it's what we have to work with. Notice, relatively the same. It shows very, very warm conditions. Literally November-like temperatures, early November-like temperatures, late October. And we see that low pressure move in from the southwest, really starved of moisture, but it does pick some up from the Gulf of Mexico. Notice the parallel does deliver quite a bit of snow across the northern United States, and the main difference with that was this system tracked further to the north. And it was more north oriented with its track rather than eastward. Now again, I do want to say that while the trend with the GFS and GFS Parallel has been lighter, there are many ensembles that are still showing a powerful storm. So the threat is definitely still there. I'm just trying to tell you what happened. I'm not going to sugarcoat it or overhype unnecessarily, right? So notice that this system moves off. We see quite a bit of rain attached with it and a lot of precipitation. You can see the GFS parallel really advertises a large system. Some strong winds for sure, but not really confined to the snow area as much as some of the previous models were showing, which would give us blizzard conditions. But notice, it does move away, and what that storm does do is bring quite a bit of cold air according to the parallel. Notice the northwest is just seeing a continuous train of storms. I mean, look at that. It's just ridiculous. And again, the snowfall amounts across the northwest will be quite literally off the charts. And as we take a look in the future, I don't want to say that just because that storm, if it doesn't occur as a powerful storm, which again, it's foolish for me to even make an assumption whether or not it will or will not, which is why in the title I say possible, not likely. December is usually the time of the year where we start beginning seeing those storms that are big, they're powerful, right? And the models just don't agree on it most oftentimes, and when they do, it's a rare thing. And honestly, the past several times we've had pretty good events where they agreed, and it was relatively easy to forecast, or easier. This time around, this storm seems a bit tougher, but we'll just have to adjust, right, as Mother Nature throws its curveballs. So notice that in a longer range, I just want to show you, there's a lot of precipitation, and that's what I'm talking about. Notice the northeast potentially around Christmas time seeing a snowstorm of some type of storm system, and more precipitation floating around. I mean, that's the best way to word it. It's just a lot of precip. This is a very active pattern. The Pacific jet stream is extremely active, so there will be a surplus of warmer air, but also a lot of precipitation, and you don't need cold conditions, colder than average, to see snow across the northern U.S. Even across the south, you saw Virginia into Kentucky. It's a relatively warm pattern we're stuck in. They still saw a bit of snow. So again, snow is just very, very hard to predict. Temperatures are a bit easier, and again, that's why I would say that I'm leaning slightly towards the warmer scenario of this overall winter. And that may sound a bit disappointing for you guys, but unfortunately, that's what I think will be occurring. But again, I don't know if that will have an impact on the snow amounts. So let's take a look at some other models. The Canadian. Canadian is a very active model. It keeps this even more active than the GFS or the parallel. Notice we have that system pulling away off the eastern United States. We have more snow coming in off into the southwestern Canada, into the northwestern United States. Again, this week just looks gorgeous. I mean, today was a pretty good day. Really lack of precipitation across much of the U.S. Cloud cover was extensive across my area, but that's, there will be patchy cloudiness with no precipitation, as that's a lot of times what winter is. Just a gloomy cloud deck and no falling precipitation. So again, notice as we push this into forward time, we see a lot of warm air push in. Wednesday, Thursday, dry. The northern United States seeing a bit of activity, a clipper possibly pushing into the northeast. The Canadian was the bigger advocate of this clipper. It's still showing chances, but not significant. More significant snow, as was showing a couple of days ago. And again, significant, I say 5-6 inches across some locations, which isn't really a snowstorm, but it's a disturbance. So notice that as we push this forward, we have our southern piece, we have our northern piece. The Canadian really struggles forming these two systems together, and at around Friday, there's still relatively nothing going on, but it does start showing a pretty, stronger system developing. Notice Minnesota, South Dakota, North Dakota, Nebraska seeing some snow out of this, and again, it keeps it weaker, but the Canadian kind of includes two waves, a lot of cold air relatively to what we've been seeing, and more snow again. So you can see that the model differences are huge, and if you were to take a look at the Canadian and its projected snowfall outlook, you can see it's quite more significant. We would have Minneapolis seeing 8 to 9 inches, St. Louis seeing up to half a foot of snow. So again, this is the Canadian outlook. Notice I do also forecast for Canada. Look at that, very heavy snow amounts across Canada, right, and into the northern United States. So that is definitely a possibility. I want to go back to the parallel because I don't know if I showed you the snowfall amounts, but this is what they look like. You can see they're more limited to the north. Still, though, impressive across Canada and into portions of the most western portions of the Great Lakes, which is Superior, and definitely a impressive feat, if you will, of snow still covering much of Canada and the northern plains. Look at that. The northwest obviously seeing shovelfuls of snow. That really all models support. Let's take a glance at now the European model. This is what it shows in terms of its yeah, this is the first snowstorm. You can see that the west, just continuous snow, especially southwestern Canada, British Columbia, just seeing absolute, I mean, ridiculous amounts of snow. I can't even describe them. I mean, 60, 70 inches. Saying that kind of seems silly. But notice a lot of the northwest also seeing decent amounts of snow. Look at that. It's the European takes the storm further to the south into Illinois, Wisconsin, Iowa. Lighter amounts, right, 3 to 4, but for northern Illinois, that's still the heaviest snow, if it were to occur, of the season. To Michigan, a bit more, and into Canada, we see quite some big amounts of snow, even well over the 1 foot range. So again, that is still a significant event. And then in the future, you could see the European adds on and shows more snow across Montana, especially western Montana. And notice that these amounts continue to pile up. So the European, you could see, is also kind of showing a different scenario. Let me show you the radar and precipitation with the European. And I was reading the National Weather Service data for Chicago, or their forecast discussion, and they've been basically saying the same stuff, that the confidence is pretty low. The system could do many different things. The ensembles have a fairly large spread. It is really just unwise to claim anything about the storm other than say their possibility exists. So notice that as we push this forward, the European does develop that storm right. It develops a pretty nice rain band, some light snow, but really it's only around that Saturday time frame where it starts developing something more significant, and then that pushes off. Again, though, lots of rain is still associated with that. A potential another system developing, which the European may or may not have a good handle on. We'll have to see. But again, more chances and low pressures are on their way, as this is a very active pattern, right? So let's take a look at some of the high resolution models. Sorry about that, Jan. But the high resolution models, as you might have thought, they don't go out far, 84 hours, but they are beginning, just a very, very beginnings to show of this system. And notice that they're taking something of more what the Canadian is showing. And if you recall, the Canadian was one of the more active models, at least the NAM is. That's what the NAM is showing. You can see a broader area of snow across Colorado, Kansas, and already a more organized precip-filled storm from the start. Now, another high-resolution model that goes out to 84 hours is the RGEM, showing a similar thing. While it's not as snowy as the NAM, it definitely shows quite a bit of precipitation already occurring early Friday. And I think that one model I showed you, the GFS, early Friday showed right about nothing. And it kind of didn't really do anything with it up until Saturday. You could see then it started developing it. So the high resolution models are agreeing more with the Canadian, which, let me going back to the Canadian, and around that 6Z Friday showed a bit more of that substantiated precipitation, and it quickly erupted it with snow. Didn't wait with like the GFS until Saturday with it. So we'll have to see. There's a lot of potential with this system still, and there's a lot of unconfidence. That's kind of what I wanted. I want the main takeaway for this video to be. A lot of low confidence about this storm. And again, as of now, we'll just have to keep an eye to the sky on the models. And thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you guys in the next episode. See ya. Bye.